There's only 2
That's
left.
an AC also, yes, air conditioning. Just Harper, I don't know why they have Harper's. I think it was the beans.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Southwestern City School District Board of Education. The Ohio Legislature approved legislation to allow school district boards of education to conduct meetings by teleconference or video conference, providing the meeting can also be observed by the general public. In order to comply with this requirement, tonight's meeting is being live broadcast via Zoom and also on the district's YouTube channel. While operating under this blended online meeting environment and in the spirit of maintaining public participation, the board has accepted written comments in addition to those wishing to speak during the meeting on non-agenda items. Those wishing to address the board on non-agenda items must have submitted the required information to speak at the meeting or written comments to be read at the meeting prior to noon today. As of noon today, we have 2 persons signed up to speak during the time set aside in the agenda for this purpose. Those wishing to address the board on agenda items may submit their name, the topic of their comments, email address, and the phone number from which they may be calling in the chat area of this Zoom meeting between now and 7 p.m. So all concerns may be heard. Please observe the following rules for public participation. Only 3 people may speak or submit written comments on the same topic. Each speaker may take up to 5 minutes to address the board, and each speaker may not reflect adversely on individuals. While public participation will not be interactive during tonight's meeting, follow-up with individuals submitting public comments will occur at a later time. All comments are considered public record and are therefore subject to the Freedom of Information Act. Having received confirmation that the video is streaming correctly, Southwestern City School District Board of Education President, Mrs. Kathy Johnson, will now call the meeting to order.
Thank you for attending tonight's meeting of the Southwestern City School District Board of Education. While the agenda will be visible during the meeting for those watching online, you may also follow along using the agenda posted on our website at www.swcsd.us under the Board of Education tab. Please remember that public participation will not be interactive during tonight's meeting. Please note that tonight's meeting may not run perfectly, but we are doing our best to keep things running smoothly. The June 14th, 2021 meeting of the Southwestern City School District Board of Education is now called to order. Roll call.
Mr. Caldwell.
Here.
Mr. Donofrio.
Here.
Mr. Ragland.
Here.
Mr. Schreiner.
Here.
Ms. Johnson.
Here. We need a motion to adopt this evening's agenda.
So moved. Schreiner. Second, Anthony Caldwell.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mr. Schreiner.
Yes.
Mr. Caldwell.
Yes.
Mr. Donofrio.
Yes.
Mr. Ragland.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes. We now need a motion to approve the minutes from May 10th and June 8th.
So moved.
Thank you. Need a second?
Second. Right.
Thank you. Any changes, corrections? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Donofrio.
Yes.
Mr. Ragland.
Yes.
Mr. Caldwell.
Yes.
Mr. Schreiner.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes. And now we have a presentation recognizing our retiring personnel.
No sound.
Oh, come on.
Sound.
Hello, I'm Kathy Johnson. I'm president of the Southwestern City School District Board of Education. On behalf of the board, it is my honor to recognize and congratulate our retirees for this school year. We owe these folks a debt of gratitude for all that they have done for the students and the community. Years from now, your former students will talk about you and will remember all that you did for them. We wish you the best in your retirement and look forward to hearing from some of you in the future. Thank you.
Again, thank you to all of our retirees, and we wish them nothing but wonderful things in their future. Moving now to items for action, fiscal and operational management, Mr. Schreiner.
Thank you, Madam President. Under fiscal and operational management this evening, we have 10 action items. The first, revised permanent appropriation for fiscal year 2020-21, Exhibit X1. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the revised permanent appropriations. Secondly, investments and financial statements for May 2021, Exhibit X2 and X3. It's recommended that in accordance with Section 135.14 of the Ohio Revised Code, the Board of Education approve May investments, Exhibit X2, and cash position report for the month of May 2021, Exhibit X3 is submitted. Total investments, $396,583,917.34. Interest earnings month to date, $60,299.93. Interest earnings year to date, $2,066,040.68, with interest rates 0.020 to 1.670%. Third, payment of bills, Exhibit X4. It's recommended that the Board of Education approve payment of bills according to the list of checks for the month of May 2021. Fourth, donations, Exhibit X5. Total donations of $14,620.18, appreciated as always to those contributors. Fifth, authorization to pay bills in accordance with Section 5705.41 Ohio Revised Code. Exhibit X6, it's recommended that the Board of Education authorize the treasurer to pay bills for May, which were not processed in accordance with Section 5705.41 Ohio Revised Code, Exhibit X6. Sixth, approval of the fiscal year 2021-22 budget for the Southwest Public Libraries. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the 2021-22 budget for the Southwest Public Libraries as presented, Exhibit X7. Seventh, resolution to accept the STRS Ohio contribution rate increase for the Deputy Superintendent. It is recommended that the Board of Education accept the following resolution regarding Deputy Superintendent contributions to STRS effective August 1st, 2021. 8, approve student activity purpose clauses. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the student activity purpose clauses as presented in Exhibit X8 for the class of 2025 for each of the district's 4 high schools and the innovation and entrepreneurship business at the Southwestern Career Academy. 9th, acceptance of proposal from the Ohio School Plan. It is recommended that the Board of Education accept the proposal for the Ohio School Plan for insurance coverage for the 2021-22 school year for the following items: general liability, cybersecurity, violence, pollution, auto, and property as detailed in Exhibit X9. And 10th, transfers. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the transfers from the general fund to various funds as presented. The transfers are necessary to fund fee waivers to buildings and for school lunch debts. See Exhibit X10. After reviewing these items for action, I move them for passage.
Okay, we need a second.
Second.
Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Schreiner,
Yes.
Mr. Donofrio,
Yes.
Mr. Caldwell,
Yes.
Mr. Ragland,
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes. Moving now to board reports. No board reports, so we have no public participation relative to agenda items. So Mr. Schreiner, it's all yours for the legislative liaison report.
Thank you, Madam President. I will highlight a few of the things that have happened, especially the week of June 7th, with some disheartening news as well in regard to the budget. Budget activity. The House voted not to concur on Senate changes to House Bill 110 by a vote of 86 to 6. The bill, which makes operating appropriations for the fiscal years 2022 and 2023 biennium, was revised earlier in the week by the Senate Finance Committee through an omnibus amendment and later passed 25-8 by the full Senate. The conference committee will now begin discussions to reconcile the differences between the bill's provisions. House activity as well. The House passed House Bill 82 by a vote of 94-0. The bill would create an opt-out for 11th grade students from the state requirement to take the ACT or SAT. Senate activity. The Senate also passed Senate Bill 181 by a vote of 33-0. The bill would establish restrictions on policies that prevent students from wearing religious apparel when competing or participating in interscholastic athletics or extracurricular activities. Permit certain officials to limit the wearing of religious apparel if a legitimate danger to participants is identified, but requires an administrator or official to offer all reasonable accommodations and provide civil immunity for schools and school districts, among others. The House Primary and Secondary Education Committee met. That committee held a second hearing on House Bill 316, sponsored by Representative Geralds and Hillier, which would allow school districts to implement the supplemental school year program that provides high school students who were enrolled in public and chartered non-public schools in the 2020-21 school year the opportunity to retake or supplement the grades or courses they completed during that school year due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and would require the school to petition the Ohio High School Athletic Association for up to 2 additional semesters of eligibility for students participating in the program. I think I'm going to just jump to the final thing, and that would be the House Health Committee passed House Bill 281, sponsored by Representatives Gerald and Young, which would change terminology in the Ohio Revised Code as it pertains to people with mental illnesses and disabilities. There's also other information there as well with other activities from other committees, and that will be in the minutes as soon as this meeting is over. I respectfully submit that, and that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Moving now to Mr. Caldwell for student and staff achievement.
Thank you, President Johnson. I'll be brief with our comments tonight. First, we just want to congratulate our students and staff on the successful completion of the 2020-2021 school year. We know that it was challenging at times, but we appreciate all of our staff and students for everything they did. Next, we want to congratulate the graduating seniors of Grove City, Franklin Heights, Central Crossing, and Westland High Schools for their successful completion and moving on to their next endeavors. And finally, just to reiterate what President Johnson said, we just want to congratulate all of our retiring staff for their years of service to the district and to our students, and wish them the best of luck and the best of health in their retirement. That concludes tonight's student staff achievement report.
Thank you, Mr. Caldwell. Moving now to Mr. Caldwell for curriculum.
Thank you, President Johnson. We have 2 items on the agenda tonight under curriculum. The first is a second and final reading of textbooks and instructional materials for music course of study grades K through 6. And the second item is the second and final reading for textbooks and instructional materials for drama and theater course of study grades 9 through 12. Having reviewed both of these items, I would recommend them for passage.
Do we need a second on that? Thank you. Questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Caldwell.
Yes.
Mr. Ragland.
Yes.
Mr. Donofrio.
Yes.
Mr. Shriner.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes. I'm moving now to Mr. Donofrio for facilities development.
Thank you, President Johnson. Good evening, everyone. On tonight's agenda for facilities development, we have 2 items for consideration. First, a resolution authorizing and granting of easements to Columbia Gas of Ohio Incorporated for natural gas service to the new Norton and Finland middle schools. See the attached PDF documents outlining the easements. And second, a resolution authorizing and approving a professional design services agreement with Shore Architects Incorporated for professional design services for renovations, additions, and other miscellaneous HVAC and technology projects, which were approved by the board earlier this year. Having reviewed these items, I recommend their passage and move to do so at this time.
We need a second.
Second, Shriner.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Donofrio.
Yes.
Mr. Shriner.
Yes.
Mr. Caldwell.
Yes.
Mr. Ragland.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes. Continuing with Mr. Donofrio, this time students, school, and community.
Thank you again, President Johnson. On the board agenda for tonight for students, school, and community, we have 5 items. The Central Crossing Choir and Jazz Band would like to travel to New York City for workshops on March 23 to 27, 2022. The Franklin Heights Marching Band would like to participate in band camp in Rio Grande, Ohio on August 1 to 6 this summer. The Grove City Naval Junior ROTC would like to visit Gettysburg on October 14 and 15 this fall. The Grove City High School Ski Club would like to travel to Shoshu Ski Resort in West Virginia on January 14 to 18 of 2022. And finally, the Grove City High School Chorale and Harmonia Advanced Choirs have been invited to perform at Carnegie Hall, perform at St. John the Divine Cathedral, and participate in workshops with Juilliard and or Broadway performers in New York City next summer, June 18 to 23, 2022. Congratulations on this prestigious invitation. Having reviewed these items, I recommend their passage and move to do so at this time.
And we need a second.
Second, Caldwell.
Mr. Caldwell, any questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Donofrio.
Yes.
Mr. Caldwell.
Yes.
Mr. Ragland.
Yes.
Mr. Shriner.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes. And now moving to Mr. Ragland for personnel.
Thank you, President Johnson. On the board agenda this evening are 8 personnel items involving 395 persons. This includes 32 certificated and administrative resignations, 6 administrative employments, 13 certificated changes in employment status, 211 certificated employments, 17 classified resignations, 12 classified changes in employment status, 103 classified employments, and 1 message of condolence for a deceased staff member, Susan Evan, an aide in our district since 1994. And after review of these items, I do recommend them for passage.
And we need a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Donofrio. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, roll call.
Mr. Ragland.
Yes.
Mr. Donofrio.
Yes.
Mr. Caldwell.
Yes.
Mr. Shriner.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes. Dr. Metzger, do we have anyone here tonight to? Nope, okay, moving right along then. We are to public participation. The first person is Julie Linsky. Sorry, that's Liskini.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much for letting me have this time this evening. Again, my name is Julie Liskini. As an active member of the community, a taxpayer, a stakeholder, and a parent of Southwestern City School student, I'm concerned about the professional development options given our teachers and staff in the district over this coming summer. It has come to my attention that critical race theory has come to our district. Even though Dr. Wise and his staff have told me and others that CRT is not in our schools and has not been introduced in our curriculum, I'm trying to understand how and why most of the offerings this summer are being led by authors and professionals who believe in CRT methods. Just to name a few, We Got This by Cornelius Minor, The Civically Engaged Classroom by Mary Aaronworth, Culturally Responsive Teachers and the Brain by Zaretta Hammond, Grading for Equity, and Becoming an Anti-Biased, Anti-Racist, Culturally Responsive Educator. I've been told by the district that they believe in offering many options that give varying insights and opportunities for its teachers and staff to learn from, which I completely agree with. But when you are offering learning opportunities that only engage CRT, then it would follow that our district believes in and promotes these theories. So why wouldn't the teachers incorporate these methods and theories in their classrooms?
On this, we are to public participation. The first.
I'm sorry.
Keep going, Julie. I don't know what that was.
Oh, okay. Thought somebody was trying to tell me something. In 2020, the Ohio Department of Education instructed its school districts to begin offering and incorporating these bias theories to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. But really what we are seeing is people imposing their political views and agendas on our youth, which has no place in our classrooms. We should be promoting excellence in the classrooms of Southwestern City Schools. We should be providing for our diverse populations. We must strive for equality in the opportunities given for all students to succeed. And we must promote an environment of inclusion for all students to learn about and from one another. Political propaganda and racial theories on how children learn and interact has no place in our classrooms. We need to focus on getting our district grade up from a D to an A, not focusing on issues and theories that confuse our kids. True inclusive education is about looking at the ways our schools, classrooms, programs, and lessons are taught so that classrooms actively involve all children. It also means finding ways to develop friendships, relationships, and mutual respect between all children and between children and teachers in their school. So I ask, who is in charge of choosing what is offered to our teachers and staff for professional development? What is the agenda? Where are the courses for creating successful classrooms? Where is the seminar on what real inclusion looks like? How about a development course on including and promoting parental involvement? What if we had a course on creatively using community resources for building civically engaged families? Where are the positive, constructive sessions to build up our teachers and give them up-to-date tools for educating our students? I'm curious, as well as other parents and teachers, answers to these questions. Teachers and staff want answers too, but they're afraid to speak up for what they really want and what they need. Is the district listening? Did the board know about and approve these development courses? Is the district using its government funding it receives to propel our folks into excellence? Or are we using it to build more barriers? Thank you.
Thank you. Our second speaker this evening is Samantha Hill.
Hello, thank you for having me. I have a couple of points that I wanted to touch on. One is about masks for next year. Can you please help me clarify with parents your plan for keeping schools open next year full-time and with no masks? There's been significant data and research that proves that children, especially small children under the age of 12, are not the cause for spreading COVID. So keeping them masked all day long is not only not needed, but irresponsible to put them through for one more year. They've been put through enough. Also, Dr. Fauci himself confirmed that drugstore masks are not effective in keeping out the virus, which is small enough to pass through the material, which those are the masks that children will be wearing, drugstore masks or cloth masks. Now that you've been given your faculty and staff ample enough time to get vaccinated, if they so choose, we should be able to choose to send our children to school and not have to worry about them being forced to wear a mask that is ineffective anyways. Also, if other neighboring districts such as Taste Valley can confirm masks will not be continued or mandated weeks ago, what is Southwestern City Schools waiting for? Please let our children get back to the normal next year. Also, to continue on the equity and inclusion training, I'm pulling from the meeting that was on February 22nd that the board held. I have a couple questions that I hope to get clarity on for the school board's intentions for equity and inclusion policy going forward. While I agree with your statement that diversity enriches the district, Please help clarify your need to counteract historical bias and discrimination. What are you doing in counteracting in our K through 12 grade schools? What does it mean that your staff is held accountable for building district-wide culture of equity? Shouldn't we be promoting equality within our community instead of focusing on the differences? If we're not discriminating against any certain group of people, we should have our children focus on treating each other with kindness, respect, and equality. And in regards to the statement that I see over a fence, but the person next to me is too short, so we need to give them a box. Who are you giving the box? Who is the disadvantaged students? How do you choose who is disadvantaged and who is not? By race, by gender, by sexual orientation, which all end up leading to a discriminatory mindset. Also, how are you counteracting historical bias? What history are you altering or teaching our children that will be changing under these new core beliefs? How can us as parents know that you're intending to teach our children? When, in my opinion, your teachers should be teaching my child how to read, write, and do math, not that certain people are inherently oppressed or the oppressor, or that equal isn't always fair. While I agree with the board that we should create a community that is inclusive and a place that kids feel like they can belong, but at what expense are we putting other groups down and making them feel bad about being who they are? With that said, what is the equity policies and practice that will be implemented on our children going forward? Does the board feel that they're moving forward with the critical race theory-based education system? If so, I think those intentions should be common knowledge for all parents in the district as soon as possible. To your point on actionable themes, please help me elaborate on a couple bullet points I have questions on. What and how are you intending on creating and accepting culture with a sense of belonging? What measures are you taking to do this? And what are you focused on now accepting that was not common practice within the district previously? What does it mean for our children to have multiple learning pathways and multiple paths to achieve the outcome? What is the outcome that you're looking for? What are the different paths and how do you choose those paths for our children? Also, what policy structures and practices are you working on that are causing inequities that you're trying to reverse? And what criteria are you using to pinpoint and reverse those inequities? What are the targeted and consistent support systems beginning at an early age? This is in the document. At an early age, what does that mean? What are you intending to target teaching elementary school age children? And how will parents know if these targeted support systems are in their school? While I believe that the community can always do better and grow and learn, I have a lot of questions and concerns with the way that the district is going about these new core beliefs and teachings. I think that the district owes it to the parents to keep them fully informed and in the loop on these types of learnings being taught to our children. Since this is not an open discussion, I would like to know how and when these questions will be answered. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. We'll have Mr. Stewart. Mr. Stewart, be in touch with you. We've got your contact information from when you signed up. Thank you for addressing us this evening, both of you. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Caldwell. Do you need a second?
Second.
Yes, it is. Roll call.
Mr. Caldwell.
Yes.
Mr. Ragland.
Yes.
Mr. Donafrio.
Yes.
Mr. Shriner.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes. Thank you all for coming. Good to see some of you in person.